Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this year's New Jersey Poetry Out Loud Region 5 competition. We're all excited to be here and a pleasure to have you. I just wanted to say thank you to all of our judges this morning. We have Marsha LeBeau. Give me a wave, Marsha. Hi. And we have BJ Ward and Angela Cariatis, and Paula Neves is our accuracy judge. We also have a special guest, Kathy Roy, who's back down there. Hi, Kathy. And New Jersey State POL Coordinator, Eric Stratton. Hi, Eric. Morning. I just wanted to thank all of you really for being here, because without your collective participation and commitment to New Jersey Poetry Out Loud, we wouldn't be able to be here today, and especially in this environment. So I'm really grateful for all of you and all the hard work that you've put into making this happen, especially this year. So thank you all. I think we are ready to go. So we are going to get right into it, and we'll start with our first recitation for round one.
Hello, my name is Serenity Sewell from PAYNE Tech, and the title of my first poem is The Song of the Feet by Nikki Giovanni. It is appropriate that I sing the song of the feet. The weight of the body and what the body chooses to bear fall on me. I trample the American wilderness, forged frontier trails, outran the mob in Tulsa, got caught in Philadelphia, and am still unreparated. I soldiered on in Korea, jungled through Vietnam, sweated out desert storm, caved my way through Afghanistan, tunneled the World Trade Center. And on the worst day of my life, walked behind JFK, shouldered MLK, stood embracing Sister Betty. I wiggle my toes in the sands of time, trusting the touch that controls my motion, basking in the warmth of the embrace Days End offers with warm, salty water. It is appropriate. I sing the praise of the feet. I am a Black woman.
After the Winter by Claude McKay. Someday, when trees have shed their leaves, and against the morning's white, the shivering birds beneath the eaves have sheltered for the night, we'll turn our faces southward, love, toward the summer isle, where bamboos spire the shafted grove, and wide-mouthed orchids smile. And we will seek the quiet hill where towers the cotton tree, and leaps the laughing crystal rill, and works the droning bee. And we will build a cottage there, beside an open glade, with black-ribbed bluebells blowing near, and ferns that never fade.
Hello, My name is Alexander PEREYRA, and I will be reciting Lines Written in Early Spring by William Wordsworth. I heard 1,000 blended notes while in a grove I sate reclined, in that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to mind. To her fair works did nature link the human soul that through me ran, and much it grieved my heart to think what man has made of man. Through primrose tufts in that green bower, the periwinkle trailed its wreaths, and 'tis my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. The birds around me hopped and played, their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. If this belief from heaven be sent, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man has made of man? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clarisse MORENO, and I'll be presenting A Birthday by Christina Rossetti. My heart is like a singing bird whose nest is in a watered shoot. My heart is like an apple tree whose boughs are bent with thick set fruit. My heart is like a rainbow shell that paddles in a halcyon sea. My heart is gladder than all these because my love is come to me. Raise me a dais of silk and down, hang it with vair and purple dyes, carve it in doves and pomegranates and peacocks with 100 eyes. Work it in gold and silver grapes, in leaves and silver fleur-de-lis, because the birthday of my life is come. My love is come to me.
I am. I am. Yet, what I am, none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious host, like shadows in love's frenzied stifled throes. And yet I am, and live like vapors tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, where there is neither sense of life or joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. Even the dearest that I love the best are strange, nay, rather stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man hath never trod, where woman never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator, God, and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled. The grass below, above, the vaulted sky.
Figure by Robert Wrigley. You want a piece of me to see, from the flesh of me, a flesh from within me no one's ever seen. Not me, nor the mother or the lovers of me. A piece that will have been me, but then no longer me. Instead, a synecdoche of me. Or possibly a metonymy. a figure of speech of me, in contiguity or association with me, a part for the whole of me, a sliver that once was me, so that you might perceive the end of me.
I heard a fly buzz when I died by Emily Dickinson. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air between the heaves of storm. The eyes around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset. Would the king be witnessed in the room? I willed my keepsakes, signed away what portion of me be assignable. And then it was, there interposed a fly with blue, uncertain, stumbling buzz between the light and me. And then the windows failed, and then I could not see to see.
Emily Dickinson at the Poetry Slam by Dan Barra. I will tell you why she rarely ventured from her house. It happened like this. One day she took the train to Boston, made her way to the darkened room, put her name down in cursive script, and waited her turn. When they read her name aloud, she made her way to the stage, straightened the papers in her hands, pages and envelopes, the backs of grocery bills. She closed her eyes for a minute, took a breath, and began. From her mouth, perfect words exploded, intact formulas of light and darkness. She dared to rhyme with words like cochineal and described the skies like diadem. Obscurely worded incantations filled the room with an alchemy that made the very molecules quake. The solitary words she handled in her upstairs room with keen precision came rumbling out to make the electric lights flicker. 40 members of the audience were treated for hypertension. 20-year-old dark-haired beauties found their heads had turned a Moses white. Her second poem erased the memory of every cell phone in the nightclub, and by the fourth line of the sixth verse, the grandmother in the upstairs apartment was cured of her rheumatism. The papers reported the power outages. The area hospitals taxed their emergency generators, and sirens were heard to wail through the night. Quietly, she made her way to the exit, walked to the terminal, and rode back to Amherst. She never left her room again, and never read such syllables aloud.
Good afternoon. My name is NATALYAH, KADICHE, and I will be reciting Abecedarian, requiring further examination of Anglican Seraphim Subjugation of a Wild Indian Reservation by Natalie Diaz. Angels don't come to the reservation. Bats, maybe, or owls, boxy modeled things. Coyotes, too. They all mean the same thing. Death. And death eats angels, I guess, because I haven't seen an angel fly through this valley ever. Gabriel? Never heard of him. Know a guy named Gabe, though. He came through here one powwow and stayed. Typical Indian. Sure, he had wings. Jailbird that he was. He flies around in stolen cars. Wherever he stops, kids grow like gourds from women's bellies. Like I said, no Indian I've ever heard of has been or seen an angel. Maybe in a Christmas pageant or something. Nazarene Church holds one every December, organized by Pastor John's wife. It's no wonder that Pastor John's son is the angel. Everyone knows angels are white. Quit bothering with angels, I say. They're no good for Indians. Remember what happened last time some white god came floating across the ocean? Truth is, there may be angels. But if there are angels up there living on clouds or sitting on thrones across the sea wearing velvet robes and golden rings, drinking whiskey from silver cups, we're better off if they stay rich and fat and ugly exactly where they are in their own distant heavens. You better hope you never see angels on the res. If you do, they'll be marching you off to Zion or Oklahoma or some other hell they've mapped out for us.
My name is Karen Ayub, and I'll be reciting How to Triumph Like a Girl by Ada Limon. I like the lady horses best, how they make it all look easy. Like running 40 miles per hour is as fun as taking a nap or grass. I like their lady horse swagger after winning. Ears up, girls, ears up. But mainly, let's be honest, I like that they're ladies, as if this big, dangerous animal is also a part of me. That somewhere inside the delicate skin of my body there pumps an 8-pound female horse heart, giant with power, heavy with blood. Don't you want to believe it? Don't you want to lift my shirt and see the huge, beating genius machine that thinks, no, it knows, it's going to come in first?
If everybody's ready, we are going to start round 2. And the recitations will happen in the same order that we saw the students in the first round. So, Eric, I'm not sure how it went in tabulating room or scoring room.
It went great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know Paula and I wanted to just talk about a couple scores. If other judges have questions or they want to, just talk out their feelings, I can't obviously tell you what to do. I'm very neutral, but if you want to speak about what you saw, I'm there to help out.
Okay, great. So we're good, I think, right? Everybody, thumbs up, everybody cool? Okay, awesome. Alicia, let us start round 2 recitations.
My name is Serenity Sewell, and the title of my second poem is Epitaph by Catherine Phillips. On her son, H.P., at St. Site's Church, where her body also lies interred. What on earth deserves our trust? Youth and beauty, both are dust. Long we gathering are with pain, what one moment calls a gain. 7 years, childless marriage past. A son is born at last. So exactly limbed and fair, full of good spirits, mean in air, as a long life promised. Yet, in less than 6 weeks, dead. Too promising, too great a mind, in so small room to be confined. Therefore, as fit in heaven to dwell, he quickly broke the prison shell. So the subtle alchemist can't with Hermes sealed resist the powerful spirit's subtler flight, but to will bid him long good night. And so the sun, if it arise, half so glorious as his eyes, like this infant, takes a shroud, buried in a morning cloud.
Under the Edge of February by Jane Cortez. Under the edge of February, in hawk of a throat, hidden by ravines of sweet oil, by temples of switchblades, beautiful in its sound of fertility, beautiful in its turban of funeral crepe, beautiful in its camouflage of grief, in its solitude of bruises, in its arson of alert. Who will enter its beautiful calligraphy of blood? Its beautiful mask of fishnet, mask of hubcaps, mask of ice picks, mask of watermelon rinds, mask of umbilical cords changing into a mask of rubber bands. Who will enter this beautiful, beautiful mask of punctured bladders, moving with a mask of chapstick? Compound of hearts, compound of hearts, where is the lucky number for this shy love, this top-heavy beauty bathed with charcoal water, self-conscious against a mosaic of broken bottles, broken locks, broken pipes, broken bloods of broken spirits, broken through like broken promises, landlords, junkies, thieves, enthroning themselves in you. They burn up couches, they burn down houses, and infuse themselves against memory. Every thought, a pavement of old belts. Every performance, a ceremonial pickup. How many more orphans? How many more neglected shrines? How many stolen feet? Stolen fingers? Stolen watch bands of death in you? How many times? Harlem, hidden by ravines of sweet oil, by temples of switchblades, beautiful in your sound of fertility, beautiful in your turban of funeral crepe, beautiful in your camouflage of grief, in your solitude of bruises, in your arson of alert, beautiful.
I will now be reciting American Smooth by Rita Dove. We were dancing. It must have been a foxtrot or a waltz, something romantic, but requiring restraint. Rise and fall, precise execution as we moved into the next song without stopping. Two chests heaving above a 7-league stride. Such perfect agony. One learns to smile through. Ecstatic mimicry being the sine qua non of American Smooth. And because I was distracted by the effort of keeping my frame, the leftward lean, head turned just enough to gaze out past your ear, and always smiling, smiling. I didn't notice how still you'd become until we had done it. For 2 measures, 4, achieved flight, that swift and serene magnificence before the earth remembered who we were and brought us down.
Hi, my name is Clarisse Moreno, and I'm presenting Domestic Situation by Ernest Hilbert. Maybe you've heard about this, maybe not. A man came home and chucked his girlfriend's cat in the wood chipper. This really happened. Dinner wasn't ready on time. A lot of other little things went wrong. He spat on her father, who came out when he learned about it. He also broke her pinky, stole her checks, and got her sister pregnant, but she stood by him. Stood strong through it all because she loved him. She loved him. You see, she actually said that. And then she went and married him. She felt some unique call. Don't try to understand what another person means by love. Don't even bother.
Meditation on a Grapefruit by Craig Arnold. To wake when all is possible before the agitations of the day have gripped you. To come to the kitchen and peel a little basketball for breakfast. To tear the husk like cotton padding, a cloud of oil misting out of its pinprick pores, clean and sharp as pepper. To slide each piece into a cold blue china bowl, until the whole fruit is divided from its skin, and only then to eat. So sweet. A discipline precisely pointless. A devout involvement of the hands and senses. A pause. A little emptiness. Each year harder to live within. Each year harder to live without.
Dead Butterfly by Ellen Bass. For months, My daughter carried a dead monarch in a court mason jar, to and from school in her backpack, to her only friend's house. At the dinner table, it sat like a guest alongside the pot roast. She took it to bed, propped by her pillow. Was it the year her brother was born? Was this her own too fragile baby that had lived so briefly in its glass world? Or the year she refused to go to her father's house? Was this the holding her breath girl she became there? This plump child in her rolled down socks I sometimes wanted to haul back inside me and carry safe again. What was her fierce commitment? I never understood. We just lived with a dead winged thing. It's part of her. It's part of us. Weightless in its heavy jar.
Fairy Tale Logic by A.E. Stallings. Fairy tales are full of impossible tasks. Gather the chin hairs of a man-eating goat, or cross a sulfuric lake in a leaky boat. Select the prince from a row of identical masks. Tiptoe up to a dragon where it basks, and snatch its bone. Count dust specks, mote by mote, or learn the phone directory by rote. Always the impossible someone asks. You have to fight magic with magic. You have to believe that you have something impossible up your sleeve. The language of snakes, perhaps an invisible cloak, an army of ants at your beck, or a lethal joke. The will to do whatever must be done. Marry a monster. Hand over your firstborn son.
Good afternoon. My name is NATALYAH KADICHE from Jonathan Dayton High School, and I will be performing Chorus Sacerdotum by Baron Brooke Folk Greville from Mustafa. Oh, wearisome condition of humanity. Born under one law, to another bound, vainly begot and yet forbidden vanity, created sick, commanded to be sound. What meaneth nature by these diverse laws? Passion and reason, self-division cause. Is it the mark or majesty of power to make offenses that it may forgive? Nature herself doth her own self deflower, to hate those errors she herself doth give. For how should man think that he may not do, if nature did not fail and punish too? Tyrant to others, to herself unjust, only commands things difficult and hard, forbids us all things which it knows is lust, makes easy pains impossible reward. If nature did not take delight in blood, she would have made more easy ways to good. We that are bound by vows and by promotion, with pomp of holy sacrifice and rites to teach belief and good and still devotion, to preach heaven's wonders and delights. Yet when each of us in his own heart looks, he finds the God there, far unlike his books. Thank you.
My name is Karen Ayub, and I'll be reciting Songs for the People by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Let me make the songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir like a battle cry wherever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabers, for carnage nor for strife, but songs to thrill the hearts of men with more abundant life. Let me make the songs for the weary, amid life's fever and fret, till hearts shall relax their tension and careworn brows forget. Let me sing for little children before their footsteps stray, sweet anthems of love and duty to float o'er life's highway. I would sing for the poor and aged when shadows dim their sight, of the bright and restful mansions where there shall be no night. Our world, so worn and weary, needs music pure and strong to hush the jangle and discords of sorrow, pain, and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grown tender girdle the world with peace.
So round 3, finals. Here we go.
Miss Serenity Soul from PAYNE Tech, and the title of my third poem is Emily Dickinson at the Poetry Slam by Dan Vera. I will tell you why she rarely ventured from her house. It happened like this. One day, she took the train to Boston, made her way to the darkened room, put her name down in cursive script, and waited her turn. When they read her name aloud, she made her way to the stage, straightened the papers in her hands, pages and envelopes, the backs of grocery bills. She closed her eyes for a minute, took a breath, and began. From her mouth, perfect words exploded. Intact formulas of light and darkness. She dared to rhyme with words like cochineal and describe the skies like diadem. Obscurely worded incantations filled the room with an alchemy that made the very molecules quake. The solitary words she handled in her upstairs room with keen precision came rumbling out to make the electric lights flicker. 40 members of the audience were treated for hypertension. 20-year-old dark-haired beauties found their heads had turned a Moses white. Her second poem erased the memory of every cell phone in the nightclub, and by the 4th line of the 6th verse, the grandmother in the upstairs apartment had been cured of her rheumatism. The papers reported the power outages. The area hospitals taxed their emergency generators, and sirens were heard to wail through the night. Quietly, she made her way to the exit, walked to the terminal, and rode back to Amherst. She never left her room again, and never read such syllables aloud.
The Glories of Our Blood and State by James Shirley. The glories of our blood and state are shadows, not substantial things. There is no armor against fate. Death lays his icy hand on kings. Scepter and crown must tumble down, and in the dust be equal made with the poor crooked scythe and spade. Some men with swords may reap the field and plant fresh laurels where they kill, but their strong nerves at last must yield. They tame but one another still. Early or late, they stoop to fate and must give up their murmuring breath when they, pale captives, creep to death. The garlands wither on your brow, then boast no more your mighty deeds. Upon death's purple altar now, see where the victor victim bleeds. Your heads must come to the cold tomb. Only the actions of the just smell sweet and blossom in their dust.
I will now be reciting Auto Lullaby by Franz Wright. Think of a sheep knitting a sweater. Think of your life getting better and better. Think of your cat asleep in a tree. Think of that spot where you once skinned your knee. Think of a bird that stands in your palm. Try to remember the 21st Psalm. Think of a big pink horse galloping south. Think of a fly and close your mouth. If you feel thirsty, then drink from your cup. The birds will keep singing until they wake up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clarice Moreno, and I'll be presenting My Partner Wants Me to Write Them a Poem About Sheryl Crow by Caleb Ray Condrilli. But all I want to do is marry them on a beach that refuses to take itself too seriously. So much of our lives has been serious. Over time, I've learned that love is most astonishing when it persists after learning where we come from. When I bring my partner to my childhood home, it is all bullets and needles and trash bags held at arm's length. It is my estranged father's damp bed of cardboard and cigar boxes filled with gauze and tarnished spoons. It is hard to clean a home, but it is harder to clean the memory of it. When I was young, my father would light lavender candles and shoot up. Now, my partner and I will light a fire that will burn all traces of the family that lived here. Black plastic smoke curdles up and loose bullets discharge in the flames. My partner holds my hand as gunfire rings through the birch trees. Though this is almost beautiful, it is not. And if I'm being honest, my partner and I spend most of our time on earth feeding one another citrus fruits and enough strength to go on. Every morning, I pack them half a grapefruit and some sugar, and they tell me it's just sweet enough.
Under the edge of February, in hawk of throat, hidden by ravines of sweet oil, by temples of switchblades, beautiful in its sound of fertility, beautiful in its turban of funeral crepe, beautiful in its camouflage of grief, in its solitude of bruises, in its arson of alert. Who will enter its beautiful calligraphy of blood? Its beautiful mask of fishnet, mask of hubcaps, mask of ice picks, mask of watermelon rinds, mask of umbilical cords changing into a mask of rubber bands. Who will enter this beautiful, beautiful mask of punctured bladders, moving with a mask of chapsticks? Compound of hearts, compound of hearts. Where is the lucky number for this shy love, this top-heavy beauty bathed with charcoal water, self-conscious against a mosaic of broken bottles, broken locks, broken pipes, broken bloods of broken spirits, broken through like broken promises? Landlords, junkies, thieves, enthroning themselves in you. They burn up couches, they burn down houses, and infuse themselves against memory, every thought, a pavement of old belts, every performance, a ceremonial pickup. How many more orphans? How many more neglected shrines? How many stolen feet, stolen fingers, stolen watch bands of death in how many times? Harlem. Hidden by ravines of sweet oil, by temples of switchblades. Beautiful in your sound of fertility, beautiful in your turban of funeral crepe, beautiful in your camouflage of grief, in your solitude of bruises, in your arson of alert. Beautiful.
Fate by Carolyn Wells. Two shall be born a whole world wide apart, and speak in different tongues, and pay their debts in different kinds of coin, and give no heed, each to the other's being, but know not, each might suit the other to a T. If only they were but correctly introduced. And these, unconsciously, shall bend their steps. Escaping Spaniards, defying wars, unerringly towards the same thriving place, albeit they know it not. Until at last, they enter the same door. And suddenly, they meet. And ere they've seen each other's faces, they've fallen into each other's arms, all upon a Broadway cable car. And this is fate.
Poem About People by Robert Pinsky. The jaunty, cropped-haired graying women in grocery stores, their clothes boyish and neat, new mittens or clean sneakers, clean hands, hips not bad still, buying ice cream, steaks, soda, fresh melons or soap. Or the big balding young men in work shoes and green work pants, beer belly and white t-shirt. The porky walked back to the truck, polite, possible to feel briefly like Jesus. A gust of diffused tenderness crossing the dark spaces to where the dry self burrows, or nests, something that stirs, watching the kinds of people on the street for a while. But how love falters and flags when anyone's difficult eyes come into focus, terrible gaze of a unique soul, its need unlovable. My friend, in his divorced school teacher apartment, his own unsuspected paintings hung everywhere, which his wife kept in the closet. Not, he says, that she wasn't perfectly right, or me, mishearing my rock radio sing my self-pity. The angels wished him dead. All the hideous, sudden stare of self, soul, showing through like the lizard ancestry, showing in the frontal gaze of a robin busy on the lawn. In the movies, when the sensitive young Jewish soldier nearly drowns trying to rescue the thrashing anti-Semitic bully swimming across the river raked by Nazi fire, the awful part is the part truth. Hate my whole kind, but me, love me for myself. The weather changes in the black of night, and the dream wind bowling across the sopping open spaces of roads, golf courses, parking lots, flails a commotion in the dripping treetops, tries a half-rotten shingle or a down-hung branch. And we all dream it. The dark winds crossing the wide spaces between us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is NATALYAH KADICHE, and I will be performing Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to climb the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare's scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Thank you.
My name is Karen Ayub, and I'll be reciting Meeting Point by Louis MacNeice. Time was away, and somewhere else. There were 2 glasses and 2 chairs, and 2 people with the one pulse. Somebody stopped the moving stairs. Time was away, and somewhere else. And they were neither up nor down. The stream's music did not stop, flowing through heather limpid brown, although they sat in a coffee shop, and they were neither up nor down. The bell was silent in the air, holding its inverted poise between the clang and clang, a flower, a brazen calyx of no noise. The bell was silent in the air. The camels crossed the miles of sand that stretched around the cups and plates. The desert was their own. They planned to portion out the stars and dates. The camels crossed the miles of sand. Time was away, and somewhere else. The waiter did not come. The clock forgot them, and the radio waltz came out like water from a rock. Time was away, and somewhere else. Her fingers flicked away the ash that bloomed again in tropic trees, not caring if the markets crash when they had forests such as these. Her fingers flicked away the ash. God, or whatever means the good, be praised that time can stop like this. That what the heart has understood can verify in the body's peace. God, or whatever means the good. Time was away, and she was here, and life no longer what it was. The bell was silent in the air, and all the room one glow because time was away, and she was here.
Some of you have been involved with POL in the past, and as you know, we typically put all the students back on stage, and while we're tabulating and all that good stuff, we put the kids on the spot and we start asking them questions about their POL experience and what it meant to them and how they choose their poems and all these crazy kind of questions. And I thought this year, since we don't have that opportunity, I felt like it was only fair that we put you guys on the spot this year. And so I just have a couple questions for you as judges, an angle that the kids never really get to see, or even the audience in general, about what it feels like on this side to put it together and as a judge. So are you up for a couple questions? Great. So unmute yourself so we can talk freely. So I guess this year being this year and everything we have gone through, it's a very unique year. So I just want, and by the way, you don't all have to answer. So if you feel, you know, the feeling, just jump in and give us your thoughts on this. This year has been so different, right? So what's it like for those of you who've been judges in the past? What's it like for you this year as compared to maybe other years? And having to view the recitations in this particular fashion, pre-recorded, different settings, the kids you only see maybe some from, you know, the head up or some are, what's it been like to have to judge in this environment?
It's been more difficult for sure because there's really no consistency. And there are different, I mean, some are like from here up and a little lower. There's a little bit of, you know, I feel like there's a lot of wiggle room there. Yeah. I find myself at times going, oh, what would they look like on the stage, you know? And if there's a lot of motion up here, I have to be like, oh, I'm judging them in this box. I'm not adding the rest of a body. So it's just, you're always doing like these mental calculations when you're judging, even live, right? But now you're adding, I think, like 3 or 4 other calculations. So, you know, it's been difficult, but I'm just so glad that the competition is continuing. I mean, like, however, I mean, this is the first year, so of course there are going to be bumps and hiccups, but overall, it's been great. Thank you.
Anybody else have any feelings about this? I mean, I can agree, right? With a student stepping out on stage, the background is always the same, and so it kind of falls back, and you can focus on the recitation and the interpretation. And now I've got to calculate in my head and not be influenced by location, video, quality, that sort of thing. BJ, have you found that more easier, more difficult?
Well, it's definitely different. It's things like that, you know. Yeah. Right? Yeah, the dog agrees with me too. Here's what I'll say about it, and I'm saying this for the students who might be watching this after the fact, that the New Jersey Poetry Out Loud program and the New Jersey State Council on the Arts did a phenomenal job with the judges training session this year, in that they anticipated the kind of differences in technical capacities for these different recordings. And they gave us all this kind of primer on how not to be distracted by these things. And as someone who grew up in a house that did not have a lot of things, I would be, if I were a student right now, I'd be wondering, were points taken off because, I had to turn on the camera myself or my phone myself and turn it on. Or obviously one student was filmed in her classroom, and and the answer to the students is no, you weren't judged on any of that. And that's one of the things I really love about this program, that that was anticipated. And so there's no technological points deducted. By that I mean in technology, because those are related to socioeconomic opportunities in my mind. And it would be horrible for any student to lose points for that. So kudos to Eric and the rest of the New Jersey Poetry Out Loud team for that great training session and anticipating this, to the State Council on the Arts for making this happen. Now, going back to the other question, I love baseball. And I am one of those suckers that pays for the baseball package where I can get every baseball game played in the season. It's $169 a year. It comes out to a little over $1 a game. It's worth it for me because I'm a Phillies fan. I don't live in a Phillies market, and I get to watch my Phillies.
Right.
And yet, given the opportunity, every day I would be down at the Vault, which is Citizens Bank Park, watching it in person, because there's a magic that happens there when you're in person. And I think there's a similar thing here. We can't do that because of COVID-19. And so we're doing our best, just as baseball carried on during World War II, even with female baseball players, which was phenomenal. Baseball is bigger than the circumstances of the society. Poetry is bigger than the circumstances of the society. And I think this experiment with Zoom just proves it. So kudos to everyone involved.
Thank you, BJ. I think it's really important to continue, as much as we can, make life as similar to what we are used to experiencing. And I'm also grateful that we were able to keep on going this year. All right, so my next question is this. We quite often see the same student, different students across regions, because some of you have judged in different regions as well. The same poem recited by different students within one regional competition or multiple regional competitions. So tell me what it's like to have to stay objective to that individual student's recitation and interpretation how difficult is it not to compare the interpretation and just maintain focus on this individual student's recitation and interpretation of that? So, Paul, I don't know that can you?
Yeah, I can actually speak to that, even though I'm the accuracy judge. I'm primarily, of course, focused on the words, the delivery of the words. But I mean, I also have, experience in acting, and you can't really, that's why some actors don't watch other actors work, because the interpretation is very unique, and two different people can interpret the same thing, and they can both be great performances, and it's not like one is compared to the other. It's its own thing. So it's definitely a skill, and there's a lot of room to be objective there, actually, even though people don't think so.
Cool. And how do you feel about that?
Well, I think objectivity is a myth. I think we're here to I don't know what that means, to be objective in any way. I think that's being objective is different than being fair, right? Yeah. So I'm looking at it, our whole purpose in being here is to compare and contrast. And that to me is what the challenge is at the beginning, right? Because everything is so wonderful because of the extreme willingness that it takes to even participate in something like this. I think it's exciting. I think it's creative when you see different interpretations of the same piece. That I think is the challenge. So I think there's a lot of ways to look at the beauty from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Fabulous perspective. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Good. No? Okay. So here's the last thing. I have two judges who've been with us before. And so this is a really quick question for you guys. Sometimes we see the same student perform year over year over year over year. It happens, you know, a lot. And I know myself, I've seen a freshman miss winning a championship by points at the regional level, and have continued to watch that same student over sophomore year, junior year, senior year. Do you remember the students that you've seen year over year? And if you have, what's it like to watch them grow up through the lens of POL?
Oh, well, the answer is yes. I often remember students year after year. And one of my favorite examples of that is the state champion from maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. Time flies.
Yeah.
When you're my age, but it's their name is Amos Kappa, and they performed, I think, 3 years in a row in the state final.
Yep.
And then finally they were announced the champion and went off to Washington, D.C. and competed on the national level. When their name was announced, they fell off the chair. They were so, I mean, it's on YouTube. You could look this up. But it was such a genuine reaction. And for me, this happens also on the regional level. What I watch students do, and this might go back to your last question, Linda, is as they refine their, I don't even know if you want to call it a performance. I guess it's a performance. Their recitations, they're learning better and better how to get out of the way of the poem, so that there's less evidence of manipulation in the performance. In a way, the poem is the arm and the reciter is the sleeve through which the poem reaches to get to me, the listener or the viewer. And to watch a student refine his or her performance over the course of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's really gratifying. I mean, I think that's human nature too. When you're younger, certainly when I was younger, I wanted it all to be about me, right? But you reach a certain point, you say, who the heck are you? Just get out of the way and let the work do itself. And that's true as a writer too, right? The better I get at writing, I'm not in the way as much of what's trying to be expressed. But you know, the ego is a strong thing. It's hard to keep that little devil in the hole. And when you're reciting something like we just saw, or writing something. I hope that makes sense. But
it does. Fabulous. Thank you. Marsha, I know that we've had this conversation in some respect too, you know, about watching young students recite. How do you feel about watching them year over year?
I love watching them grow up and mature, and exactly what BJ says, like getting out of the way really of the poem. I think the hard thing is sometimes when a student has done better in an earlier year, and then they come back and that is really tough. You know, it's just like, what happened? But you know, it's always about, like, I guess in the live performance, it's about the day, right? A student can be having a bad day. It just, you know, or a slightly off. I mean, when we're talking about somebody coming back and back, they're usually a very competitive, you know, so, so it's so subtle, right? But yeah.
I do remember we've seen that in Region 5. A fabulous out of the gate performer first year in was just wonderful on the stage and during their recitations, who has come back a second year, and for whatever reason, whether poem choice or just not connecting to that poem, or like you said, maybe it's just an off day, or overcompensating with coaching that they've received, second year did not perform as well as first year. to come back a third or in a fourth year and succeed, right? We've seen that, Marsh, no?
Yeah, yeah. It's like the Olympics. It's
very, very, very true, right? It's like this moment in time, you have done a fabulous job. Well, I do want to thank you again for sharing your thoughts and joining us for today and giving us that wiggle room of what we needed to get this year's Region 5 competition completed. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Eric Stratton, our New Jersey State POL coordinator, so he can announce this year's regional champions. Are you all ready? Should we do a drum roll? Okay, drum roll, hands. I don't know. What do you want to do? Here we go.
Sounds good to me. Thanks, Linda. I just wanted to say thank you to all the judges again. This contest means so much to the students that are participating and the teachers and the coaches. And I just want to thank all the participants as well. This is a really cool program, and just seeing the interest and the love that students are pouring into it is so gratifying, especially with virtual environment. Our state had, I think it's 42 students participating across our 6 regions, which is miles ahead of some other states who have had less participants. And I just really want to thank all the teachers and schools in New Jersey that made that possible and inspired your students to participate in this competition. So with that said, our winners for Region 5 are Serenity Sewell and Olivia Ridley. You two will be heading over to the state championship, which will be coming up in the next 2 months. And you'll be competing with the other champions from the other 5 regions. And the 10 of you will be competing for the 2 that end up sending their stuff over to Washington for the nationals.
Congratulations.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been a wonderful morning, and I hope that you all have enjoyed it as much as we had. We'll see you soon.